My wife lied about being pregnant to trap me into marriage, so I walked away quietly, and she lost everything she thought she controlled. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and my story starts with a mistake I ignored for too long. I've always been the quiet type. I don't chase drama, I don't do games, and I definitely don't like being the center of attention. I work in IT, headphones in, head down, paycheck on time. That's always been enough for me. But then came Nicole. Nicole was the opposite of everything I thought I wanted. Loud, confident, impossibly social. The kind of woman who walks into a room and makes everyone turn. She worked in our company's marketing department, always surrounded by people, always smiling like she owned the place. We barely talked until a company retreat in the mountains. Alcohol, campfire, music. One thing led to another. A one-night thing. At least that's what I thought it was. I tried to put space between us afterward. I wasn't cruel, I just wasn't ready for anything serious. But Nicole? She acted like we were already a couple. Texting constantly. "Good morning, babe." Messages before I even opened my eyes. I chalked it up to infatuation. Figured she'd lose interest once I stopped feeding into it. Then 2 weeks later, she showed up at my apartment. Her face looked pale, but her eyes had this strange, excited gleam. "I'm pregnant," she said, like it was a magic spell that would fix everything. My world tilted. I stood there in silence, trying to compute whether I'd heard her correctly. She reached out and took my hand, resting it on her flat stomach like I should feel something. "I want us to be a family," she whispered. I couldn't speak. I just stood there, drowning in a choice I hadn't made, and that's how she took control, from the very first lie. I wish I could say I took time to think it over, that I got clarity. But the truth is, everything moved too fast. Nicole told her parents that same night. By morning, mine knew too, and by the end of the week, I was being told what kind of man I needed to be. "You made a mistake," my father said. "Now be a man and take responsibility." Nicole didn't wait for me to process anything. She posted a picture of the two of us on her Instagram, her head resting on my shoulder, a sparkle filter slapped over it. "The caption?" he asked. I said yes. I stared at my screen like someone had hacked her account. I never proposed. I never even agreed to be in a relationship, let alone a marriage. But the comments were already rolling in. OMG, congratulations. Cutest couple ever. When's the wedding? Nicole acted like nothing was off. She brought me to brunch with her family, showing off the ring she bought for herself, so we'd have something to announce. When I tried to pull her aside and talk, she whispered through gritted teeth, "Don't embarrass me in front of my parents." I was too stunned to fight back. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "This is happening. Don't ruin it." I should have walked away then. I should have shouted the truth. But instead, I just nodded like some ghost trapped in his own life. Every part of me was screaming that this was wrong. But no one else seemed to hear it, and the worst part? A piece of me started believing maybe this was just my fate. The wedding planning began like a storm I couldn't stop. Nicole was in full production mode. Pinterest boards, venue tours, dress fittings, flower trials. I kept telling myself I'd speak up, stop it somehow. But the deeper we went, the more impossible it felt. Everyone had already bought the fantasy she was selling. My mom pulled me aside once, maybe the only time someone saw through my silence. "You don't look happy," she said quietly. "I'm just tired," I lied. Nicole chose a luxury venue that overlooked the lake. Her family fronted most of the cost. She insisted on live music, drone footage, and even a horse-drawn carriage. She looked radiant on the outside, like a bride from a magazine cover, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was performing. Not marrying. I didn't know half the people at our wedding. Influencers, distant relatives. Friends of her dad's business partners. She made a custom hashtag for us. Dornick and Nico forever. It trended in our town for 2 days. The vows were the part I dreaded most. Nicole's were a perfect blend of charm and tears, crafted like a marketing pitch. People clapped, cried, laughed in all the right places. Then it was my turn. I stared down at my shaky hands. The index cards I'd prepared felt like someone else had written them. I fumbled through a few lines. My voice cracked. Nicole shot me a glare so sharp it cut through the cheers. Her smile was gone for a split second, replaced with cold control. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't a partnership. It was a performance, and I was just the final prop I wanted to run. But instead, I kissed the bride, on cue. After the wedding, the dust didn't settle. It thickened. We were barely a month into marriage when I realized something was off. Nicole wasn't showing. No prenatal appointments, no vitamins, no morning sickness. I tried to rationalize it at first. Maybe she was being private. Maybe it was too early, but the unease gnawed at me. One night, while she was scrolling through TikTok on the couch, I finally asked, "Hey, when's your next doctor visit?" She barely looked up. "Doctor said I'm fine." I don't want to jinx anything. "Let's not talk about it." Another time I brought up getting a sonogram. Her jaw clenched and she snapped, "Do you think I'm lying? Is that what this is?" I flinched. "No, I just want to be involved." She burst into tears, like full sobbing. Told me I was stressing her out and could hurt the baby. That night, she locked herself in the guest room and didn't come out until morning. I found myself apologizing for asking about my own child, but it kept eating at me. The math didn't add up. She said she was 9 weeks along before the wedding. Now we were approaching month 5 and nothing, so I pressed again. I stood in the kitchen, hands trembling. "Nicole, I need to know, are you actually pregnant?" She froze. Then, like flipping a switch, she collapsed to the floor sobbing. "I lost it," she whispered. "Weeks ago. I didn't want to ruin the wedding. I didn't want to lose you." My stomach twisted. The silence between us screamed louder than her sobs. She lied. She lied to trap me. And the worst part? I stayed anyway. After that night, something inside me shut down. Nicole swore she was sorry. She clung to me like a child, saying, "I didn't know how else to keep you." Her voice shook. She acted broken. I almost believed her. And maybe a part of me wanted to, because if she wasn't broken, that meant she was calculated. I told her I needed time. But time didn't exist in her world, only manipulation. She told my parents about the miscarriage before I could explain anything. My mom hugged her for 10 minutes straight. My dad patted my shoulder like I'd been through some war I didn't sign up for. Nicole played the grieving mother perfectly. She even posted a black and white photo of our wedding rings resting on a sonogram, one I'd never seen before. Captioned, "Heaven gained an angel. We'll never forget you." I stared at that post for hours. Hundreds of likes. Dozens of comments. Sympathy flooding in for a child that never existed. I brought it up once, quietly. I asked, "Where did you get that ultrasound?" She didn't even blink. Google, it matched the weeks. "Don't make this harder than it is." I walked out of the room, and she followed me. "I just wanted us to be okay," she said. "We are okay, right?" But we weren't. She started asking for access to my emails. Told me we should combine our finances. That we needed more transparency. "I'm your wife. You should have nothing to hide," she'd say with a smile that never reached her eyes. I wasn't grieving. I was drowning. And every time I reached for air, she called it betrayal. It didn't take long before I realized I wasn't living with a wife. I was living with a warden. Nicole insisted I quit my job at the downtown office and take a remote position. She said it would be better for our future, but I knew the truth. She didn't want me out of her sight. She couldn't handle not knowing where I was every second of the day. At first, it was little things. She installed a Ring camera for safety that just so happened to face directly into my home office window. She'd text me during meetings, "Why'd you turn off your camera?" "Who were you talking to just now?" I started feeling paranoid in my own home. Then came the GPS trackers. One in my car, one in my phone. She called them relationship accountability tools. I called them what they were, control. "I just need to feel safe," she said, stroking my arm one night. "You wouldn't mind doing this if you really loved me." Those words echoed in my head every time I hesitated. Every time I wanted to say no, I started keeping a private journal, hidden behind the bathroom tiles. My only place to speak freely, even if just a paper. I wrote down everything. The lies, the pressure, the suffocating presence of a woman who smiled sweetly in public and manipulated me in private. My friends stopped reaching out. She'd made sure of that. "You don't need them," she'd whisper. "You have me." I looked in the mirror one morning and didn't recognize the man staring back. Tired eyes, forced smiles, spine made of silence. She didn't want a partner. She wanted a puppet, and I was starting to wonder if I'd ever cut the strings, just when I thought I'd found a fragile rhythm. Quiet days, controlled movement, fake smiles. Nicole dropped another bomb. It was late. We were eating takeout on the couch, watching some Netflix show she barely paid attention to. Out of nowhere, she turned to me, her eyes shining with that same eerie excitement I remembered from months ago. "I think I'm ready," she said softly, like it was a secret. "Let's try for a baby again." I choked mid-bite. She kept talking like she hadn't just detonated a grenade in my chest. "I know we had a rocky start, but we're stronger now, right? It's time." Every instinct in my body screamed no, but my mouth betrayed me with a nod. I felt the walls closing in again. My mind raced for options, for air, for escape. That night, I lay awake next to her as she snored peacefully. And all I could think was, she wants to trap me again. Only this time, she wasn't faking it. This time, she'd try everything to make it real. I picked up my phone under the blanket and searched. Private vasectomy clinics near me. It felt insane, rebellious, desperate, but also like the first real decision I'd made for me in months. The next morning, I scheduled a consultation for the following week. I told Nicole I had to go to a team building session in the city. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, "See? You're finally becoming the man I always knew you could be." She had no idea I wasn't becoming the man she wanted, was becoming the man who would finally leave. The clinic was tucked into a quiet medical plaza downtown, clean, anonymous, no questions asked. I sat in the waiting room clutching a clipboard, my hands clammy, my heart racing. Every part of me knew what I was doing. This wasn't just a medical procedure. It was rebellion. A silent scream. A locked door with no key. The nurse called my name. I stood up. In that small, sterile room, I answered questions, signed forms, and stared at a ceiling tile while the doctor explained the process. I wasn't scared of the surgery. I was scared of what it meant, that I'd stopped hoping things would change. That I was choosing freedom over trying. The vasectomy was quick, clean, efficient. By the time I got home, Nicole had wine poured and candles lit. "Work retreat went well?" she purred. I forced a smile. "Yeah, very productive," she leaned into me. "Good, because I've been tracking my cycle." "This week's perfect," I nodded again. I was getting good at pretending. For the next few weeks, Nicole went into baby mode. She started leaving prenatal vitamins on my side of the sink. She ordered baby books. She even bought tiny socks and taped them to the fridge with a note that said, "Someday soon." Each gesture made my stomach turn. Not because I didn't want to be a father one day, but because she was trying to weaponize motherhood again to chain me to a life I never chose. But this time, she couldn't, because I knew something she didn't. I could never get her pregnant again, and she was about to find out just how much control she'd already lost. It was a Thursday morning when it happened. I was half asleep, brushing my teeth, when Nicole barged into the bathroom holding a plastic stick in her trembling hand. Her eyes were wide, her face flushed. She looked like someone had handed her the winning lottery ticket. "I'm pregnant," she whispered, her voice cracking from the emotion she didn't fake this time. I spit into the sink, slowly wiping my mouth. My mind went blank, then exploded with noise. Impossible. I had the paperwork. I had the clinic's confirmation. I had the procedure. I turned to her, masking everything behind a calm expression. "Really?" She nodded rapidly. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I can't believe it. I didn't think it would happen this fast." "I'm so happy, babe." She hugged me, her whole body shaking with joy, or maybe fear. I couldn't tell. I hugged her back gently. My arms moved, but my mind was racing. Either the clinic royally screwed up, or she cheated. I didn't say anything that day, or the day after. I let her celebrate. Let her show me baby name lists, nursery color palettes, due date calculators. She floated through the house like she was in a dream, and I watched from behind my own eyes, frozen. I didn't eat much. Didn't sleep well. But I stayed calm, focused, because this time I needed evidence. I needed the truth on paper, so I waited, quietly, patiently, and every night. While she kissed my stomach and whispered to our baby, I stared at the ceiling, already making plans for what I'd do when the truth finally came out. She thought she had me again. But this time, I was already 3 steps ahead. The moment that baby was born, I felt absolutely nothing. No surge of love. No awe, just a cold, hollow silence in my chest. Nicole cried. The nurses cooed. Her mom snapped pictures. I stood in the corner, forcing a smile like someone watching a play they'd already seen the ending of. Only this time, I wasn't the one being fooled. The child was beautiful. I'll admit that. Perfectly formed. Small fingers, wide brown eyes. But there was something that didn't sit right. His skin tone, his hair, tiny signs that made my doubt curl into certainty. I waited a few days. Then I made my move. Nicole was asleep on the couch, exhausted from feeding. I slipped into the nursery, heart pounding, hands shaking, swabbed the baby's cheek with a test kit I ordered under a fake name, labeled it, packaged it, shipped it out with overnight priority. The next week was torture. Nicole kept saying things like, "I can't believe we made something this perfect, and he looks just like you." I nodded along, pretending, dying inside. Then the results came in. 0% match. Not even a possibility. No mutation, no mistake. The science didn't lie, my vision blurred. I sat in the bathroom, the report trembling in my hands, reading the line over and over like it would somehow change. "You are not the biological father." I didn't scream. I didn't confront her. I just printed the papers, slipped them into a folder, and locked them away. I wasn't ready to explode, not yet. I wanted her to think she'd won, because when I walked away, I wanted her to feel it, not in anger, not in violence, but in silence, sealed with proof she couldn't deny. From the outside, we looked like a picture-perfect family. Nicole posted daily updates. "Our little sunshine is 1 month old. Dad life looks good on him." She curated the lie so well, even I started wondering if I was the crazy one. But behind that filtered reality, I was preparing for my exit. I opened a secret bank account, transferred a little money every week, just enough to avoid suspicion. I rented a P.O. box and started redirecting my important mail. I even bought a cheap used phone and kept it hidden in the garage so I could call lawyers, therapists, and apartment managers without her knowing. In public, I played the doting husband, held the stroller, smiled for selfies. But in private, I was making lists. Quiet, meticulous lists. I started documenting everything. Dates, screenshots, conversations. I recorded one of her late-night phone calls when she left the room to talk to her cousin. Her tone was soft, flirty, too intimate for family. When I cross-checked the number, it wasn't her cousin. It was some guy from her gym. Every new detail made it easier to breathe. Not because it hurt less, but because the illusion was breaking. The spell was lifting. Therapy helped too. I told my story for the first time, to someone who didn't judge me, didn't ask me to be strong. I cried. Hard. Ugly. But when the tears dried, I felt clearer than I had in years. "I'm not crazy," I whispered to myself one night, staring at the mirror. "She is." And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. I was almost ready. All I needed was the right moment to leave, not just physically, but so thoroughly that she'd never see it coming. It was a Tuesday. Clear skies, calm air, nothing special on the surface. Nicole had plans to get her nails done and meet her mom for lunch. She left around 10 a.m., tossing the usual, "Love you, babe," over her shoulder. I smiled back, watched her car pull out of the driveway, then I moved. I grabbed the bags I'd packed weeks earlier, hidden in the attic under old holiday boxes. One suitcase, a backpack, a folder filled with everything I'd gathered, DNA results, bank statements, audio recordings, and printed texts. I made one last sweep of the house. Looked at the nursery, at the couch where I'd spent so many nights in silence, at the wedding photos still hanging on the wall. My face smiled in all of them. But it wasn't me in those pictures. Not really. I placed the folder on the kitchen counter. On top, I left a note. "Nothing cruel. Just truth. You lied, repeatedly. You trapped me, cheated on me, and built a fantasy at my expense. I stayed quiet so I could leave with peace, not rage. Don't try to contact me. I'm done." I walked out the front door without looking back. My friend was waiting outside in his truck. We loaded my things and I told him to drive. No destination, just distance. We ended up in a small studio apartment across town. Nothing fancy, but it felt like a palace. I changed my number that night. Blocked hers on every platform. Even deleted the old email I used for joint bills. I sat alone in that tiny space. No noise, no pretending. And for the first time in years, I breathed, really breathed. Nicole didn't take my silence well. By the time she got home and found the folder, my phone was already off. She called my parents. She called my boss. She even emailed my therapist, whose info she must have found by digging through old paperwork. The only thing she didn't do was take accountability. Instead, she went nuclear online. Her Instagram post showed her holding the baby, eyes red and puffy. Captioned, "He walked out on us. After everything we built. No warning. No goodbye." She made it look like I abandoned her, like I was some heartless monster who left his family in the middle of the night. At first, I felt that panic again, the same panic that used to keep me in line. But I reminded myself I had the truth, and the truth doesn't flinch. It didn't take long before the internet caught up. One person commented, "Wait, weren't you pregnant months before your wedding?" Another, "Didn't someone tag her ex from the gym last week?" Then someone leaked the DNA test screenshot. I still don't know who. Maybe she showed a friend she thought was on her side. Maybe she underestimated how fast karma travels online. The comments turned. Hard. "You lied about a baby to get married? He's not even the dad? Sis, you messed around and got exposed." Her perfect influencer image started to crumble. Sponsorships dropped. Brand deals dried up. She tried to pivot into mommy blogger territory, but no one trusted her anymore. Her mask had cracked. And now everyone could see what I'd lived with for years. And the best part? I never had to say a word. People kept asking me if I was going to sue, if I wanted revenge, if I planned to expose her formally. But honestly, I didn't need to. The damage was already done, and not by me. Nicole's entire identity was built around control, around perception, around looking like she had the perfect life. And now, with one quiet exit and a few inconvenient truths, that life collapsed in on itself. She tried reaching out, of course. New numbers. Burner accounts. Voicemails that started with rage and ended in sobs. "Please talk to me. We can fix this. Like, you're punishing the baby. He needs you. You think you're so perfect?" "You're not." I never responded. Not once. I blocked every attempt. Not because I hated her, but because I refused to be dragged back into the fog she thrived in. I wasn't going to play the villain in her twisted redemption arc. I focused on rebuilding. I went back to therapy, found a new job, one that didn't involve constant check-ins or watching my back. I reconnected with friends I hadn't spoken to in years. Some apologized for not noticing what I was going through. I didn't blame them. I barely noticed it myself. One night, my therapist said, "You didn't just survive her. You outgrew her." I didn't answer right away, but deep down, I knew she was right. Nicole didn't lose because I destroyed her. She lost because she could only thrive in illusion, and I stopped participating in it. Months passed. Nicole faded from my life like a bad dream. I finally woke up from. I heard through mutuals that she tried rebranding her social media. She wiped the old photos, changed her name back, and started posting solo content about healing and single motherhood. She framed herself as the misunderstood one, a survivor of abandonment. Her captions were full of vague, emotional bait. Some people will leave without explanation, and that's on them. Healing isn't linear. I'm learning to love myself again. I didn't comment. I didn't watch her stories. But friends sent me screenshots anyway, like I needed proof that she hadn't changed, just changed the costume. She started dating someone new. A personal trainer, I think. He showed up in a few soft launch posts. I wondered if he knew the truth. Probably not, but it didn't matter. Because by then, I had my own life again. A job I actually liked. A cozy apartment with sunlight that hit just right in the mornings. I adopted a rescue dog named Milo. And for the first time in years, I could walk through my front door without feeling my stomach twist. I even started dating again. Nothing serious at first. But eventually I met someone kind. Someone curious about my story but never nosy. When I told her the truth, she just nodded and said, "You're stronger than you think." And that's when I realized I wasn't carrying it anymore. The guilt, the confusion, the silence. I had set it down the day I walked away. Nicole kept trying to rewrite the past, but I had already written my future. There's this idea people have, that strength is loud, that to win, you need to scream louder, fight harder, burn bridges, and stand on the ashes. But that's not how I survived Nicole. That's not how I won. I didn't post a tell-all. I didn't blast her lies on social media. I didn't gather a crowd and scream, "Look what she did to me!" I just walked away. And in that silence, I found something louder than any revenge. Peace. Peace doesn't beg to be seen. It doesn't need applause, it just is. It sits in your chest quietly and says, "You're free now." And that freedom? It cost me years. It cost me my trust, my identity, even my sense of reality. But it was worth it. I still have scars. I still flinch when someone asks too many questions about my past. But I don't live in that version of myself anymore. The man who apologized for asking questions, who called manipulation love, who said yes just to avoid war. I left him behind with her. Now, I wake up to silence, and it's beautiful. I answer to no one. I trust myself. I don't need permission to exist anymore. Nicole taught me one thing, though. A hard lesson, but a powerful one. Control isn't love. Silence isn't weakness. And sometimes, walking away is the loudest thing you can do. She built her power through lies and illusion. I reclaimed mine with truth and distance. And if there's one thing I know for sure, it's this. I didn't lose her, she lost me, and the version of me she'll never get back is the one she never deserved in the first place.